Ladies, gentlemen, and tarnished of all ages, welcome to Shadow of the Erdtree. What do you want? Weapons? When do you want them? Now? Well, what if I told you there was a basic version of every one of the new weapon types accessible relatively early without needing to fight a single proper boss in the expansion, and I can lead you directly to each one of these in a relatively spoiler-free manner? Well, if you like the sound of that, you are in the right place. I will be going on with this in progression order, so we'll start with the quickest of these weapons to find from the first grace of the DLC, so anyone worried about spoilers can jump out of the video when it is applicable to them. And for each weapon, we will go over where it is and any important details on how to get there, as well as showing their moveset just a little bit, but basically just, this is no nonsense, here's how they look, what they do, and where they are. Without further ado then, first we have Beast Claws. This is a new claw-type weapon with incredible forward momentum on every input of attacks. If you are trying to close a gap, these are fantastic for it. It attacks somewhere between the speed of fists and claws, but the momentum, the forward movement, is really the selling point on this moveset. In order to get the first Beast Claws, you need to defeat a wandering NPC encounter that is in the forest, literally right here, right beside the opening grace of the DLC. He will be passive until you get close to him, and then he will be aggressive towards you. And without spoiling the encounter directly, you'll know you're fighting the right guy for Beast Claws when you actually see his name. Second is Backhand Blades. These are a really cool paired weapon type that is just a set of swords held in reverse grip. Fast, swishy movements, almost like the speed of curved sword attacks, but with less of a dancing motion, and again, like Beast Claws, just a lot of forward momentum to the attacks in general. These are found right in front of a coffin in a little grave mausoleum type setup located right here at this exact spot in the first area, just a short walk north of the first grace that you come on into the expansion at, and they're just sort of sitting on the ground here. The third weapon then is the Great Katana, and the basic version of this is just called the Great Katana, and it is again very easy to just find and pick up early on. The moveset itself lands somewhere between a regular katana and a greatsword, both speed of attacks wise and in terms of the actual animations. It has long range, large sweeping strikes, but there's also some thrusts here and well, including off of the roll attack, which is nice to have too. The weapon itself is earliest found sitting in the middle of this lake right here. It is sitting about 2 feet away from a boss that I won't spoil, but you don't have to fight the boss that is there to get the weapon, which is a pretty important distinction to make. Fourth up then we have the Perfume bottle, which is for all intents and purposes just a permanent non-FP costing or consumable consuming version of the perfume items, and this actually creates a really fun and unique playstyle, pretty much unlike any other in the game. The first of these you can find easily then is the fire variant of it that you can see here, and to get it for yourself from the starting grace once again, simply head north along the main path and then cross the large bridge. Directly at the other end of the bridge is a small camp of Messmer soldiers. If you take a right, you'll find some perfumers with a bunch of tents, and there will be a chest right here nearby them. Open up the chest and the bottle will be inside. Fifth today, let's talk about the light greatsword. This is an exceptionally fast and flowy moveset for the actual range of the weapon itself, because it is quite large, and it essentially just functions as a mix between a greatsword and a thrusting sword. Lots of forward movement, lots of pokes, more so than just slashes, really just a solid moveset in general. The basic one that we have for you today then is Milady, which was one of the ones used in a lot of preview footage when showing this weapon type, and its actual location then, once again from the starting site of grace, we're going to head north along the initial main path. We cross the large bridge and continue north through the camp full of Messmer soldiers to the grace, where you'll find this location. This is called Castle Ensis. This is an important location in the DLC, but you only need a brief entry into here for the weapon specifically. Head directly across the bridge at the entrance, then walk around the troll that is here and up to the left around this building. You want to wrap around the building tightly so that you can find the wooden staircase around the back, and then past a couple of enemies you will find a ladder that goes up a small tower. At the top of the tower is a chest that has this weapon inside of it. Sixth up then, let's talk about throwing weapons. This is a bit of an awkward category of weapons, sort of, as they vary wildly within the type. There are various kinds of throwing weapons, and they work very differently, but the earliest one that you can find is specifically throwing daggers, the Smithscript dagger. The light attacks throw the daggers as a ranged weapon, and so do the heavy attacks, but in a different manner. To actually get this one then, it is in the first of the new Forge dungeons, and to get to it from the first site of grace, head north along the main road once more, cross the giant bridge once again, and this time you want to take a right and then turn off of the main road and go up this hill like I've labeled field here, which will bring you right to the entrance of the dungeon. Once you are inside, head forward along the main path like this, jump down the ladder, take a right towards this long path, and follow it to the next room. Drop down one level in here and take a right once more, following this towards the following chamber. At the end of that chamber is a big rocky guy right next to an item on the floor, which just happens to be this dagger waiting for you to pick it up. Seventh, and today we have Hand to Hand, the martial arts weapon type, and the basic version of this is called Dryleaf Arts. Quality scaling by default, but can be changed with a wet blade, and the basic moveset of this is essentially just alternating punches and kicks, honestly feeling like the fastest and most mobile of all of these short-range punchy type weaponry in the game, and it just feels incredibly fun to play really. I love this one personally. As far as getting it, this one is a bit more complex, as this and the next one on the list require you to access a separate area, but this can again be done without doing any actual bosses if you really want them early, and it can in fact even be done without any combat at all. To do so from the very first grace then, progress up the main road north once again, cross the massive bridge, and this will put you back in front of Castle Ensis. If you want, you can actually get where we are going by progressing through this castle, but there are difficult fights that are required to get out of the other side. That said, there is an alternate way around without any combat at all. Instead, from the main path out front, you want to take a right turn. You want to head to this exact spot on your map here that I have marked, and then you can find a descending path into a valley with a poison swamp within it. From here, you want to stick to the eastern cliff wall, and you will find the spirit spring near the end of the path. To unlock it, you have to continue up the path here and onto the overhang northeast to hit this little pile of rocks. Then you can use the spirit spring to jump up on the cliff, which will put you right beside another spirit spring and let you jump even further up the cliff to a brand new area inside of a fort. Leave the fort on the northern side and you'll just end up on this new main path in basically another region of the DLC. Follow this main path until it forks and then turn south back towards the castle like so to get to this grace. Here there will be a couple of NPCs waiting for you. Talk to them and you'll get a new gesture called May the Best Win. Then you want to turn around and head back towards the Morth Runes Grace down the hill where we just came from, and there will be an NPC waiting here. You want to use the gesture that you just got, May the Best Win, in front of him. This will then initiate a fight, and if you win the fight, you get the weapon. Eighth and finally, this one is extremely deep in the progression order. We have thrusting shields. They can block, they can attack, all in the same weapon, and they're really just a really cool new one. Nothing really quite fights like this weapon, there's no great comparison, but picture it like extremely bulky twin blades. Far less attack speed, but a similar style of movement, but you can stop to block, and some of your attacks even seem to have some blocking components to them too. The base one we are getting here then is the Carian thrusting shield specifically, as it is just the earliest one technically that you can get, at least that I am personally aware of right now, with the least combat to actually retrieve as well. I'll be continuing on from the location of the last one, honestly just to cut out the long beginning explanation. So specifically in the Morth Ruins, you need to look around the middle of this area to find this location here, which is a hole. If you follow this hole down, it will lead you to a tunnel that then takes you out of the bottom of the cliff and out the east to deposit you right over here in the Bonnie Village. From here you want to follow these bridges to the east to connect to a main road. Follow this main road northwest until this spot right here. What this is a side entrance to the Shadow Keep, which is one of the main legacy dungeons of the expansion. But again, our goal is to slip in and out with no combat at all, so you can get this very early if you want to. From this entrance you will reach the Church District entrance, Site of Grace, and from here you will want to follow my relatively specifically exact parkour path, so I'll leave you to watching this exact movement to some nice relaxing elevator music. And now that the elevator is done, so is the music. Take a left in here to reach a site of grace, and just past this site of grace there will be a few enemies and an item on the floor behind them. The item itself will be the Carian thrusting shield. 0 combat actually required if you just run past everything along the way. That just about does it for today then, everyone. I hope you've enjoyed this generally. I just wanted to make sure that everyone could find at least one of each of the new weapon types as early and quickly as possible, in case any of these has just particularly caught your eye and you want to play through as much of the DLC as possible using them. Like if you liked the video, subscribe with the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.